You're watching the Dallas Cowboys Report presented today by Aura. I am Tom Downey, and Aura is making today's show possible thanks to their all-in-one online safety tool. And they're giving you a free 14-day trial of it when you head over to aura.com/chatsports. Some very noteworthy injury news we're going to get into. First, the one that we can all take a big sigh of relief for. Jayron Kearse is okay. He went down with a non-contact injury during the padded practices today for the Cowboys. I saw, and I was very concerned immediately because it non-contact didn't look great. He hobbled off the field, was in a lot of pain. However, the good news is Kearse returned. He left, came back onto the practice field, and everything appears fine for Kearse, a very important part of the Cowboys defense. There was a very brief, like 2, 3, maybe it was 5-minute stretch where I was in shambles, but we're okay now, at least on the defensive side. We'll get to the James Washington injury here in a second, but this is exactly why you guys subscribe, for free daily updates on everything going on around America's team. That's news, rumors, and tons of training camp coverage, which is currently going on right now as we sit here filming this. So hit that big red button and subscribe. Let's move then to the James Washington situation. He was carted off at practice with what is apparently a right ankle injury. I have quote tweeted the video. Bobby Belt, Michael Gelkin all had some really good angles of it. The Belt one in particular was very insightful. Diggs kind of lands on the right foot awkwardly, right ankle awkwardly. So hopefully Washington is okay, but this is a fairly significant red flag at this point, given the fact that Washington has been significantly banged up for a very good portion of the offseason. I think it was Cooper Rush who was throwing the deep ball, by the way. It wasn't Dak from the video angles I've seen, but, not that it really matters too much there. Washington has been banged up all offseason, preseason for the Cowboys. He suffered a slight shoulder injury, came back the next day from on day one of practices, missed time with the foot injury earlier as well. Now he's got the right foot. This one is the most concerning. We don't have any real details at this point as we sit right now for James Washington. We'll get more either later tonight or maybe more likely tomorrow as it relates to the injury status of Washington. Hopefully it's minor. And even if he only misses a little bit of time, I am still concerned because he needs reps with the offense. Lamb looks great, by the way. He's been balling out. Jalen Tolbert's playing well. Beyond those two guys right now, though, you have a bunch of unknowns. Simi Fehoko, Noah Brown, Kevontae Turp might be a special teamer. We'll talk about TJ Vasher in a little bit. Dennis Houston was actually getting some reps with the ones after Washington went down with an injury, so maybe don't rule him out of the battle to make the roster right now, but there's reason to be concerned if injuries start to strike this wide receiver core. It is by the way, a foot injury officially as I sit here filming this for James Washington. So what is your panic level over Washington's injury? Scale it 1 to 100. We know it's a foot. That's about all we know. The update literally just came across my screen from Todd Archer. This is the pinned comment on today's video. So scale it 1 to 100. How panicky are you over the James Washington injury? More injury stuff. Matt Waletzko has a shoulder subluxation, which the fancy term for it's separated a little bit. A partial dislocation of the shoulder joint. He will likely need surgery at some point. What we don't know is when that surgery is going to end up coming. It could come later on in the year. It could come in a couple days or weeks. Seems like the plan right now is for Waletzko to try to battle through it. And that's unfortunate for him and for the Cowboys, as it means he's going to miss some time. And he needs time. He's a young football player with a history of shoulder issues back to his time in college. On the bright side, it's that Josh Ball has been faring fairly decently so far for the Cowboys organization, at least in this training camp. Had a lot of noise around him going, things are not going great from that standpoint. Is he going to be okay? Sounds like the answer is yes. So I'm worried about Matt Waletzko. I want him to be healthy. At least Josh Ball seems to be faring pretty well. Now, do you want to sign another offensive tackle? Be honest with me in the comment section. Y for yes, N for no. Do you want to add another one to the Cowboys roster? Keep an eye on Sam Tevi. He's the one the Cowboys worked out previously. Let's talk Ezekiel Elliott here, as Jerry Jones has once again hyped up Zeke's role in the Dallas Cowboys offense, along, by the way, with Tony Pollard. So let's get to the actual quote from Jerry Jones. I feel like it might have gotten taken out of context at least a little bit. Quote, "We got to have Tony Pollard out there." No, seriously, Zeke's going to be our feature. Oh, I didn't do the Jerry accent. Well, we got to have Tony Pollard out there. No, seriously. Zeke's going to be our feature, and he is our feature. Well, we can feature him in a lot of different ways. We all can recognize what he does in the passing game because of his protection ability. Don't ever underestimate that, especially with the Zeke. Zeke takes some tolls when he's out there as a back blocking. So it's critical that we make Zeke, not to be trite, but because he's capable of being that, we really focus of what we're doing. Now then, Pollard, there's going to be plenty of room for that boy too. There's plenty of room for Pollard when Zeke's in there. Pollard needs to get the ball. So pick a running back one for me in my mediocre Jerry Jones impression that I find fun to do each time. EE for Ezekiel Elliott or TP for Tony Pollard. Let me know who you'd rather have as the lead back, the feature back for the Cowboys. I will make note that Jerry had a lot of praise for Tony Pollard as well. And I do hope, think, and want to believe that the Cowboys will feature Pollard more than what they did last year. And there are plenty of touches to go around. But I also know those touches might not come from Zeke Elliott, because you've lost potentially now James Washington, but you more importantly lost touches from Amari Cooper, Cedric Wilson, Michael Gallup to begin part of the season. So you might see Pollard utilized with Zeke on the football field. And I'm fine with that. Because if you power rank your 5 offensive playmakers, in some order, your big 4 right now are CeeDee Lamb, Dalton Schultz, Ezekiel Elliott, and Tony Pollard. Those are your big 4 at this point. Now, when Gallup comes back, yes, he's one of them, but you should find ways to put Pollard and Zeke on the field. And the Cowboys continue, at least publicly, to be very effusive in their praise of Ezekiel Elliott, even though this, might end up being the final year for him as a member of the Cowboys. They want Zeke to be like the guy we saw before the PCL injury. I'm not worried about him being in shape. I'm worried about him staying healthy at this point. Now, today's show is presented by Aura. You should not be worried about your financial information or personal info being compromised, and Aura helps grant you that peace of mind. They have online and device security for you and up to 5 members of your family with a free 14-day trial available over at aura.com/chatsports. I'm going to put that link in the comments section and in the description of today's show. So, if the ad break happens to come here on YouTube, it's actually fantastic timing. Take advantage of it. Head down there, aura.com/chatsports. Let's talk now more about the Cowboys and the offense, beginning with Tyler Smith. As Mike McCarthy has said, he wants to be, or he wants Tyler Smith to be comfortable out there at left guard right now. That he wants him to feel more comfortable with that area. By the way, if you've been watching along with the highlights from media, shout out to the Cowboys media for putting those out there. It's awesome stuff, guys. Tyler Smith at one point, Tristan Hill got kind of off balance, got his foot pulled up a little bit, lost the balance. Smith took advantage and threw him onto the ground. It was an incredible play by Tyler Smith. Hopefully there's more of that to come for the Cowboys' hopeful starter at left guard. Let's move to TJ Vasher. Obviously, the James Washington injury looms large over any wide receiver conversation, but the Cowboys continue to be impressed, I think, by Vasher. Here's what Mike McCarthy said when asked about him today. You're talking about a young man that has gone through a lot to get to this position, this opportunity. The catch on Friday speaks to his gift. It's what we've been waiting for, and now the pads come on. Vasher's physicality is a bit of a question mark. Winning above the rim's fine, but he's fairly skinny, and that was a knock on him coming out of Texas Tech. But he brings the size the Cowboys don't have at the roster. Very important note, by the way, from my boy Jeff Kavanaugh, Vasher has been working with the special teams gunners and drills. That is important because those last couple wide receiver spots are going to come down to special teams, even if Washington's banged up. Winning on special teams is going to help you make the 53-man roster. Speaking of special teams, some kicker updates. The beginning of practice went like this. Jonathan Garibay was 6 of 8 on field goals. Lirim Hajrullahu was 7 of 8. So growth from that standpoint in terms of Hajrullahu being outplayed by Garibay. Or Hajrullahu outplaying Garibay. They also did the mojo moment stuff today. But the big part here is that Garibay missed the 2 mojo moments kicks. What they were doing is running the kicking unit on there, saying, okay, make your game-winning try type of deal. Garibay missed both, and Hajrullahu made his. So early results right now, Hajrullahu is the leader in terms of the kicker race, and Garibay's got to get going from that standpoint. So pick a kicker for me. Type in JG for Jonathan Garibay, or type in LH for Lirim Hajrullahu. I had assumed Garibay was going to be your winner. That's not where we sit early on. Of course, still plenty of time to change. Make your predictions for me in the comments section. And we'll wrap up today's show with Jerry Jones talking about Jimmy Johnson. And to be blunt, Jerry Jones, being the soft owner that he is, asked, okay, when's Jimmy going in, Jerry? You said he was going to go in, and Jerry got a little bit defensive here. Here's what Jerry had to say. Well, I've said I was going to put him in, and when I put him in, the circumstances and what I do with that, there's a lot more than Jimmy to think about out here. I've got a lot of other lives out there that have laid out a lot on the line on the field that need to be in that Ring of Honor as well. So not to be trite. So how I do that, what I do, I get to make that decision, and it isn't at the end of the day all tailored around whether Jimmy is sniveling or not. Jerry, you can do both. You can put your legendary coach in the Ring of Honor and all the other players you want to put in there. It's not an either-or thing. To be clear, I think Jerry's being ridiculous. I think it is long past time for Jimmy Johnson to get into the Ring of Honor, and it's pettiness. It is the pettiness between Jerry and Jimmy. And though it does go both ways, I guess, to be fair, but Jerry can be the bigger man pretty easily. It's the pettiness that has kept Jimmy erroneously out of the Ring of Honor so far. So I think I speak to for most people here when I say that Jimmy should be in the Ring of Honor. So if you made it to the end of today's video, type me in the comments section if you made it to the end and you want Jimmy in the Ring of Honor.